request and hand over to our senior CEI leader, Adarniya Puneet ji, who is himself a new age media samrat, and he is himself a global communications expert as well as an entrepreneur turned venture capitalist turned investment banker and a business curator in today's day and age. Most importantly, a new age media samrat. I would now request for our senior CEI leader, Adarniya Puneet ji, to please conduct his session on the art of effective communication on today's Team Leaders Roundtable. And please feel free to ask any questions in the chat box or after the session as well. So, Ji, Adarniya Puneet ji, with that, I would now hand over to you. Om Namah Shivaya.
A very warm Om Namah Shivaya to the entire CEI family, all those present here. And well, today I'll take up a session that I take in every edition of the internship, but I'll try to, as always, make it a little different. So here goes. I'm just switching on the presentation. So one sec. Okay. So here goes. I'll basically, now what is the subject that I'm talking about is the art and the science of strategic communication. Why I called it the art and the science is that sometimes you're blessed with an art of speech. Sometimes you're, blessed with the art of articulation, the art of painting, the art of singing, and what about 99% of the people who are not so perfect at this art? For them, there is a method, there is a science. I hope, and if in case you do not understand anything, I want to make it dialogic. I'll be very happy if you could ask questions. So why the art and science is that either you're an artist and you need to calibrate your art and sharpen it, or you need to pick up the science, the method, the technique, the algorithm of strategic communication. And it is that algorithm that I'm trying to, explain through this. Now, what is the background? Each human being is an incredible possibility. Each human being. Sometimes you've seen school dropouts going on to lead international corporations. Sometimes you have seen absolutely untrained people going on to be the best soprano singers in the world. Sometimes you've seen untrained theater artists going on to become the top cinema influencers. So number one is there's incredible possibility within you. So here, the idea is that no matter you have a canvas of your life to paint or a communication, and there are these random colors. These random colors are what you are blessed with. Then is the choice that you have to make. Do I have to speak soft? Do I have to speak hard? Do I have to be emphatic? Or do I have to be very subtle? अब ये broad brush होगा, पतला brush होगा. तो मेरे पास मेरी जो abilities हैं, वो finite हैं. मेरे पास एक set of treatment है और एक set of expression है, जो मेरे पास options हैं. Together, I can create multiple collaborations. Being able to wield this brush, इस ब्रश में किस आदमी को भोजपुरी समझ आती है, किसको इंग्लिश समझ आती है, किसको हिंदी सिर्फ समझ आती है. Because the idea of communication is you do not communicate to impress, you communicate to express. I have an objective to tell you a certain thing. If I fail to do that, no matter how blessed I am or how qualified I am, it is useless. So basically, कौन सा treatment देना है, अपनी knowledge को या अपने point को कैसे package करना है? How do you package your point at the right place? And same way, it holds true about strategic communication. Important thing इसमें है strategic. Why is communication strategic? Because life is all about winning. लाइफ कोई फ्री फ्लोइंग रिवर नहीं है जिसका कोई मकसद नहीं, एंड नहीं. द वर्ल्ड दैट वी लिव इन, वी आर Shakti Pujaks. We are always looking to empower ourselves. When do you empower yourself? And how do you empower yourself? When you are able to influence more people, you are able to convince more people, you are able to align more people. इसका मतलब है तुम बात भी अगर करते हो तो जीतने के लिए करते हो. Only to win, to score a point, to communicate, to make a point. And that is why strategy is war. Strategic communication is कि ये कोरा कोई शायरी नहीं है जावेद अख्तर की, ये strategic communication है. This is communication with a purpose. You may have all the talent, expertise, knowledge, but without articulation, believe you me, you're nothing. A poor communicator better be born dumb and deaf. I mean, it actually is the same thing. Some people are such poor practitioners of communication that they mean something else and they end up conveying something else. And the idea of my talk today is to ensure that आपके साथ ऐसा ना हो कि आप कहना कुछ चाहो and your language, your expression, your intonation is so awful that you end up doing something else. और ये कैसे करना है ये मैं बताने की कोशिश करूंगा. I mean, take it or leave it, but the fact is, and that is the criticality and absolute importance of strategic communication. आपको सुनता कोई तभी है जब आप में कोई बात होती है, जब आप में talents हैं, when you have the colors, when you enrich your palette of paint with colors, with knowledge. Okay. So here you have one who is deaf by birth. Okay. I think most of you would have seen deaf and mute people. They have seen deaf people. Someone who is deaf by birth is mute forever. उसको कोई आदमी नहीं बुलवा सकता. But one who is not deaf by birth can be made with therapy to speak. Why? Because what goes in, only then it comes out. आपने कभी पढ़ाई करी नहीं, आपने कभी कोई कोर्स अटेंड नहीं किया, आपने कभी अखबार नहीं पढ़ा, आपने कहा पॉलिटिक्स से मेरे को क्या फायदा, अच्छा जियोपॉलिटिक्स से क्या फायदा मुझे, आपने कुछ नहीं किया, आपकी पैलेट बिल्कुल कोरी की कोरी है ऐसी, तो आप किसको क्या बताओगे? So ultimately, if your palette is not enriched with knowledge from every cut and corner, from every hue and shade, is so go out there and fill your palette with color. So pehli cheez is the need, and that you need to absorb the various hues and shades, the colors of knowledge. Knowledge about yourself, knowledge about everything in the world, that is to know about your domain, of course, and beyond your domain. How do you even make conversation? अब बात कैसे किसी से करोगे? आप किसी कैजुअल आदमी के साथ बैठे हो, वहां भी तो आप इंप्रेशन छोड़ के आते हो. Someone says, wow, yeah, I met a really knowledgeable character. I mean, this is a great character. आप नहीं चाहते कि आपके बारे में लोग ऐसी ओपिनियन टेक अवे करें. So it is very important for you to keep filling up this plate, keep filling up this plate, because this plate is what will make you win. ये असला है. This is the missiles and the bombs that you will hurl by picking them up correctly, selectively, and at the right place. And perfect the art of wielding the brush. I mean, I told you, I mean, with your breath, your intonation, your tongue. And how do you do? Now, there are, I will come to that later. But sabse pehle, it's important to know what are the levels of communication. The first communication is to be able to communicate. Okay, so first is communication itself. Only communication. तो पहले सीखना पड़ेगा communication. 3 layers of mastery about communication are: number 1 is essential communication. It is like Kerala, the so-called educated state is actually a literate state. सिर्फ लिटरेट, मतलब उन्हें अपना नाम लिखना आता है, गांव का नाम लिखना आता है, बाप का नाम लिखना आता है, तो एजुकेटेड कहलाते हैं. But that's not true. This is elementary. This is essential communication. बसंती, तुम्हारा नाम क्या है? मेरा नाम बसंती है. So the fact of the matter is, तुम वहां से चाय लेकर आओगे? हाँ सर, लेकर आऊंगा. So this is essential communication. ये आपको प्रासंगिक बनाता है रोजमर्रा के कामों में. If you are a peon, you're a worker who is in a line job, essential communication is what will count. Number 2 is effective, affirmative and confident communication. आप किस चीज पे, like I said, confident communication is, what do you stress on? Are you speaking 5 words in a sentence with different intonation, with different, treatment? Are you pausing your speech? Are you converting thoughts into words real time? मेरे दिमाग में एक वर्ड आ रहा है. For example, I am not reading a script right now, but there must be something within me. या तो मैंने इसको इतना घोट रखा है, I have either rehearsed this and thought this through so many times that I am not a scant scared, and I'll come to scare later. But the fact is, I convert my thought. I have practiced to convert my thought into words real time. मुझे ये सोचना नहीं पड़ता कि मैं अगला सेंटेंस क्या बोलूंगा. इसलिए नहीं कि मेरे को ये गॉड ने ब्लेस किया इस आर्ट के साथ, बट इसलिए कि मैंने एक दिन रियलाइज किया, एंड वन डे आई डिसाइडेड दैट कम्युनिकेशन हैज टू बी स्ट्रेटेजिक, हैज टू हैव अ पर्पस, हैज टू हैव एन ऑब्जेक्टिव, एंड निरर्थक purposeless communication is a waste of time. So number 1 is essential communication, effective communication. How impressive do you come across? How refined do you come across? And the third is strategic communication. Strategic communication is when you're playing chess with the other man. There's an objective on your mind. मुझे उसका राजा मारना, उसकी रानी मारनी है. There is a knowledge and research behind you. There's experience, expertise, and there is a very, very clear do's and don'ts in your mind, which you practice and obey. क्या बोलना है, क्या नहीं बोलना है. क्या बोलना है से भी ज्यादा जरूरी है क्या नहीं बोलना है. Maybe someone is very touchy about a certain subject or a certain method or a certain way or a certain reference. How you avoid it and sidestep it to be able to make your point without offending a person is what will ensure that your realities are matched and your connection is made. So strategic communication is the third and the finest level of the mastery of the first part of communication, which is communication itself. Number 2 is post communication. एक बार आपने communication किया, the other person ignores you to pressurize you. It happens in interviews all the time. You will be tested, your patience will be tested, your resilience will be. So number 1, how do you handle this? Dhoni is admired and loved. He never got kicked out. Kohli is admired, but he yet got kicked out because the difference is Dhoni embodies humility. Humility होता है humble रहना. मतलब वो कभी हवाबाजी में, he'll never clench his fist and all that. He knows where to do it. But the fact of the matter is, if you are one of those people who's very passionate, practice humility. Practice humility. अगर नहीं आती तो इसको pretend करना चालू कर दो. Learn to pretend it. Why? Because इस दुनिया को एक विनर तो चाहिए, but इनको एक humble winner चाहिए. You know, Modi ji built the Kashi corridor, but the photo of actually, I'll just fetch a charger for my system. It might actually conk off once.
Ji.
Yes. I'll just. So in that one sweeping stroke, Modi ji, by sitting among the laborers who have built and brought his dream to life, he scored a point that here is a king who is a people's king. Now, the world loves a winner who is a people's winner, who is humble in victory. So, number 2 is you are broken, you're shocked, but try to underplay it and wear a straight face. Practice it. Practice it. You're broken. You're done. You have been handed over a pink slip, but don't give the other person. You will come back. You will bounce back. But do not give the other person an impression that that person has been able to, shatter you. There's nothing that your counterpart would love more than the feeling of having beaten you, broken you. यही तो दुनिया चाहती है. Practice confidence. सबसे पहले तो confident हो जाओ and know कि no failure is permanent. No failure, absolutely no failure is permanent. But the fact is, practice confidence when scared. It is tough, but very important. Never make your dejection apparent. Number 2, in victory. In loss, don't make your dejection apparent. And in loss, in victory, practice humility. So that's the ideal method of post communication. इसे सीखना नहीं पड़ेगा, थोड़ा दिमाग को ट्रेन करना पड़ेगा. Okay, now we come to how to ace strategic communication. Just now we spoke about the 3 essential masteries of communication. Okay, I assume that when I speak to most of you, you are essential communicators, definitely. Some of you are effective communicators, but not very affirmative and confident. So here goes a small little, algorithm of how to get it right. Number 1 is bhay, fear. कहीं लोग मेरा मजाक तो नहीं उड़ाएंगे. अगर मैं बात करूंगा तो मेरा एक्सेंट आ जाएगा, तो मेरे बारे में लोग फिर उल्टा सीधा करेंगे, मेरे को लंपून करेंगे. कोई लंपून नहीं करता. आप अपनी तरह का सिर्फ एक अजूबा हो. गॉड क्रिएटेड वन यू. मेक दैट पर्सन, गलतियां करो, कर करके सीखो. बट द इशू इज इट्स ओके टू फेल. कोई भी आदमी पहली बार में लेजेंड नहीं बनता. कुछ लोग तो अपने 70वें साल तक लेजेंड नहीं बनते. यू लुक एट एवरीथिंग. इट्स ओके टू फेल. बिकॉज अगर आप फेल नहीं करना चाहते, आप कभी प्रैक्टिस भी नहीं करोगे, आप कभी एफर्ट ही नहीं करोगे. बिकॉज इफ यू आर रेडी टू फेल, बी रेडी टू बी रिडिक्यूल्ड. ठीक है, 4 लोगों ने मेरा मजाक उड़ाया, कौन सा मेरा बटुआ चुरा लिया? Nothing. It's okay. So I move on. I find the next 400 people. So number 1 is ये डर मिटाओ नहीं, इस डर को अपनी थॉट में इनग्रेन कर लो that it is okay to fail. It is okay to fail. It is okay to fail. The greatest and the mightiest have failed. So you will not be scared when making speech. The first thing. Number 2, choose your speech icon or idol. आपको अमिताभ बच्चन अच्छा लगता है, आपको अजय देवगन अच्छा लगता है, आपको स्टीव जॉब्स अच्छा लगता है, आपको आज की तारीख में कौन अच्छा लगता है? कोई. उसको कॉपी करो, उसके हजारों एपिसोड सुनो. Listen to thousands of episodes. And today, unlike my time when there was no YouTube, today the ultimate black box of exposure to the world of speech and articulation is the YouTube. आप YouTube पे listen to 500 speakers, choose your speech icon, listen to 40, 50, 60 sessions of that speaker, and then say, इस जैसा मैं बनना चाहता हूं. Believe you me, अगर आप किशोर कुमार को 5000 गाने सुन लोगे, आप जब गाओगे तो किशोर कुमार की तरह ही गाओगे. It's a very, very simple thing. 90% voiceover artists of our times, they imitate Amitabh Bachchan. और अमिताभ बच्चन सुनाई देता उनकी आवाज में. So what I'm trying to say is choose your speech icon. ये ओरिजिनलिटी का ढकोसला वगैरह सब बंद करो. Because there is a person who has practiced a style, that style has worked. You want to copy that style. And believe you me, sooner or later, हो सकता है आप अमिताभ बच्चन से भी बड़े बन जाओ. और लोग आपके स्टाइल को फॉलो करें। बट स्टार्ट कैसे करोगे, परफेक्ट कैसे करोगे? बाय पिकिंग अप द राइट फॉर्मूला। व्हाट इज द राइट फॉर्मूला? दैट्स द स्पीच आइकॉन। उसने ये फॉर्मूला एस किया है, उसको कॉपी करो, कॉपी करो, उसको पी जाओ। नंबर 3 इज डू द ब्रीदिंग एक्सरसाइजेस। ठीक है ना? जो आदमी 3 कदम में जिसकी सांस फूल जाएगी, तो 30,000 कदम कैसे चलेगा? सो इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर यू टू डू ब्रीदिंग एक्सरसाइजेस. And at the Confederation of Empowerment Initiatives, we prescribe the Navcharan Gayatri Mahasadhana, which has a spiritual dimension to it, but also a breathing dimension. Because spirituality is not in, somewhere in another hemisphere. Spirituality incorporates everything from peace of mind, balance of mind, equimindedness to breath balance. Because God at some level, and even Ma Bhavani would at some level want you to win, to a strategic communication. इसको प्रैक्टिस करो, प्रैक्टिस करो, प्रैक्टिस करो, सो दैट जब आपके दिमाग में आइडिया आए, आपने कम्युनिकेशन, तो आपकी सांस आपको धोखा नहीं दे जाए. Your breath or the length of the breath, the force of breath, it must not fail you, because breath is the soul of speech. एक मरे आदमी में और जिंदा आदमी में सबसे पहला फर्क ये देखा जाता है, ये जिंदा है कि मर गया. इस सांस को और मजबूत करना है, और नवचरण गायत्री महासाधना से इसको कॉन्स्टेंटली प्रैक्टिस करना है. बिलीव यू मी, द मोर यू डू नवचरण गायत्री साधना, यू विल increase the longevity of your breath, the power of your lungs. Find your correct volume, tone, and speed of speech. For example, in this very group, Dr. Shubhra Chakravarti, she speaks like the Rajdhani Express. And there is Dr. Saab, who speaks like, he speaks like a breeze of air which is coming, so wafting. So the idea is, हर इंसान का एक बहुत ही इंडिविजुअल स्टाइल होता है. हमारे एक प्रधानमंत्री थे, वो 1-1 मिनट का बीच में पॉज लेते थे. ये अर्पण की धरती है, एंड देन 1 मिनट पॉज. ये तर्पण की भूमि है. सो द आइडिया इज, यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि एक स्वर होता है, एक शून्य होता है. सम ऑफ यू हु नो म्यूजिक, स्वर भी कुछ एक्सप्रेस करता है, और शून्य, द पॉजेस, दे ऑल्सो एक्सप्रेस समथिंग. सो नंबर 1, some people have very sharp brain and they are able to speak very fast, and some people need the pauses to regain their breath, to oxygenate their brain. Because अगर आप अपनी एबिलिटी से तेज बोलोगे तो आप बीच में अटक जाओगे, ब्लैंक हो जाओगे. You only ensure by starting to speak one level slower than your ability. तो इस एबिलिटी को कैसे करना है, तो इसके ऊपर हम आएंगे. Research, listen as much as you can, because speech making is directly proportional to your knowledge. I spoke at the onset, I told you कि जो पैलेट, जो कलर का प्लेट ही खाली है, तो ना कुछ पेंट करेगा, उसके लिए बेकार है. I mean, everything useless. So someone who says, yeah, come on, I mean, I am after all a chartered accountancy student. What the hell do I have to do with strategic communication? You idiot. When you live through 25 years of great performance in Ernst & Young, on the 24th year, you will be told that everything about you is okay, but we can't take you to the band A because you lack something called, you just don't have it, and this is what you need to have. So अपनी पढ़ाई के साथ साथ में अपनी नॉलेज को वाइडन करो, ब्रॉडन करो. रिकॉर्ड योर स्पीच. नाउ आई केप्ट टेलिंग यू, मैंने ज्ञान इतना सारा दे दिया, मैं तो करूंगा नहीं. आज आपके फोन में रिकॉर्डर है. रिकॉर्ड 5 स्पीच सैंपल्स ऑफ योर रीडिंग, ऑफ योर डिक्शन. बिलीव यू मी, once you have heard your speech icon, जिसको आप कॉपी कर रहे हो, फिर आप अपनी आवाज सुनोगे, आपको फर्क पता लग जाएगा और आप एक ऑटो करेक्शन मोड में आ जाओगे. You will yourself, by deciphering, by discovering the difference between your speech icon and your own voice and diction, your mind will do the rest. because the minute your mind and your ears understand where I need to go, it programs itself. ये दुनिया का सबसे नेचुरल और सबसे ऑर्गेनिक artificial intelligence है, which is the human intelligence. Your intelligence will do it for you. Your mind will one day, after a month, 2 months, start liking the way you speak. अगले दिन लोग कहेंगे यार तेरे में तो बड़ा कॉन्फिडेंस आ गया, कमाल हो गया, वेरी गुड. Number 2 is, I mean, you have to use your hands. For example, कभी प्रैक्टिस करना ऐसे बोलने की और अचानक use your hands. The minute you use your hand, you add an extra dimension to your speech. You will see the greatest, motivational speakers, they use hands and arms a lot and the whole body. Why do they do that? Because this is the aura of the face. Do not for a minute believe that it is your mouth that speaks. Sorry, it's your body that speaks. The world is observing your body language. And that is the body language is the holistic impression you make. So your confidence will be read through your body language, not through your language. Your proactivity, positivity, and be ready with your punches. I mean, I am saying poetries, anecdotes, whispers, pauses, wink, or anything. The issue is the minute you choose your speech icon, uske baad poetry sun lo. Someone says some poetry, someone says another. I mean, so there are ways to actually read out a poetry and start practicing it, and then practice. One thing, understand please, if you are a Bengali by birth, the language largely that you've grown up with is Bengali and you need to speak English. Please learn to think in English while you're speaking in English, rather than thinking in Bengali and wasting that split second in the translation where your eyes start rolling, and it means so. So the idea is practice. If English is your medium, सबसे पहले practice करो कि सोचना ही English में है जब बोलना English है, सोचना ही हिंदी में है जब बोलना हिंदी है. This is the single most, और ये भी आपका ह्यूमन इंटेलिजेंस करेगा जब आप रिकॉर्ड करोगे, री रिकॉर्ड करोगे. एंड मैंने शुरू में बोला, योर पेरेंट्स चाइल्ड, योर brother's sister or your sister's brother or your sister's sister or your brother's, your wife's husband or your husband's wife, your child's parent are the best thing that happened to the world. आप में वो अथाह संभावना है. You are, an epitome of that possibility which can change the world. Now, once you know this, you'll realize that in the end, if I play my cards right, I will win. And let me tell you, इस दुनिया में बहुत लोग कहते हैं कि ज्ञान बटोरो, ज्ञान बटोरो, ज्ञान बटोरो, ज्ञान बटोरो. It's all fine. एक बंदा है who is the least likely to lose. I mean, one is stupidity can make you lose, but that is a, asterisk. The fact of the matter is the person least likely to lose is the one who knows the art of, let me say, strategic communication. And with that, a very loving Om Namah Shivaya.